Woo! We are back.
We're
We're
live.
back.
For real. Real life.
We are alive.
Yes.
Oh man, dude, it has been a crazy week down here in Indy. In the morning, it's, everything's covered in snow. By noon, it looks, it's like 70 degrees and beautiful. I don't understand what's going on, but I can tell you that I have today specifically made it very hard to shoot some engagement photos. I scheduled 2 engagement photos back to back. One of them was at a local state park that I love to visit. Absolutely beautiful. But the snow had melted and the ground was just kind of muddy. So we had to be careful where we were walking. The weather was still okay. It wasn't too cold. But when we finished and I went on to the second set of engagement photos, I showed up and within 5 minutes it just started pouring down rain.
What? Like, did you get rained out? What happened, man?
Well, it was like she was wearing a dress, he was wearing a nice shirt, and it was in like an industrial park. So luckily we had the cover of a brewery that we were in. So we just waited out the rain, and then finally, when it had passed, we just, went back outside and kept shooting, or started shooting rather. So it turned out, in the end, it turned out pretty good. It's just, so unpredictable with this weather. It's absolutely crazy, but I'm getting through it. I'm powering through it, and that's just comes with the territory, I guess. But I'm sure that it's nowhere near as bad down here as it is up there in the Great White North. Am I right?
Yeah, it's we just had a huge dump of snow since we last got live and interviewed with Justin. We had 30 centimeters just a couple days ago. I was out shoveling forever.
Ugh.
Great time. My dog loves the snow because of all the fresh scents. And then I spent some time recently just in the backyard. I actually fixed my free lens and I was testing it out to make sure it worked okay. And then I could get it back out into the field with me for some engagement shoots and whatnot coming up. So I'm super stoked for that. Otherwise, it's been quiet.
Right on.
I've House of Cards is out. Season 4. Yeah,
And
Raymond's gonna laugh at me.
no. It's a fantastic series. I know that it is. I just, I just haven't given it the time. I've always been stuck in front of the computer, either editing or, watching Creative Live or something. So
You haven't even watched season 1?
well, I started, but it's like the wife wanted to watch it, and I also wanted to watch it. I have more time at home than she does. She has school and work, and it's just hard to coordinate together. So it's like the times that we do get to watch TV, maybe we'd watch like one episode a week, maybe, and then it's like, oh, I forgot what happened in the last one, and that's really a show that's complicated, and you really need to pay attention and know what's going on.
You're like a year behind if you're gonna watch one a week.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it almost wasn't.
You might be ready for season 5 if you start right now. You could probably just leave the podcast. I'll take over, and you start. Like, you need to get as much time in with House of Cards and Frank Underwood as possible.
All right, guys. I will. I'll see you later. Callan's going to take over. I'm going to go check out House of Cards.
We're here to party. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's been great. 2 episodes so far. A little bit more boring, but I'm hoping, from what I've seen online, it picks up as you move into episode 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So that's what I'm gonna do later. Catherine's away in Europe for work, so I'm just a bachelor, and I'm just gonna watch House of Cards.
Right on. Well, I mean, that sounds absolutely like a blast.
Yeah.
Well, how about we go ahead and talk about today's guest, huh? We got Trevor Hooper today, who is a photographer from California, and Callan and I had a hard time trying to, figure out where this interview was going to go, because if you look at his work, it doesn't say, it doesn't scream at you, hey, I'm this, or hey, I'm that kind of a photographer. But when we started talking to him, it was very clear that his philosophy on not only life, but photography itself is very much so of an artist, and like a true artist. He doesn't know what it is that he wants to do because he's compelled by everything that he sees around him. He loves photography. He loves videography. He loves all different types of it. The way that we found him was through an image that he posted on Facebook. We reached out to him, and then it turns out that he does videography. So he's just all over the board. But
in a good way, though. In a good
oh,
way.
yeah, in a fantastic way. He takes this approach of wherever the road is going to take me, it's going to better my understanding of this craft and my career. So
absolutely,
the interview turned out fantastic.
Yeah, Trevor's not a commercial photographer. He's not a wedding photographer or a landscape photographer. Even though you go on his Instagram profile, and I mean, it begs to differ. He's like killing landscape photos. There's images from weddings, from his videography side. And even this image I'm going to talk to you about in just a second, you would think he's a product photographer.
Yeah.
Who's been doing it for like decades. Like all of his stuff blew me away when I got on his Instagram. And Trevor, he practices any genre, of photography, and even videography that interests him to help him become just a more well-rounded photographic, videographic artist. And you're going to hear all of that in today's interview. He talks about kind of what compels him to create a photograph, or how he goes about seeing a shot, and where and when and why he chooses to share photographs. Trevor's the image that really captured Raymond and I, he shared in a Facebook group, and it was a composite image of a beer bottle, just this hero epic, awesome beer bottle. And we are going to post it right. You're going to see it right on. You should see it like right below the video if you're on our webpage right now. It's just, he went and he just decided he was going to take a photograph of that after picking up some triggers and, just try and see what happens. And he just let his artistic side come out in that photograph, and it blew me away. Raymond, I think, you were just boggled.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I reached out to him, because I've tried this product, specifically beer. I've tried photographing beer before,
Raymond's
and
tried beer before, guys.
I've had a few beers before in my day, but I've had them in front of the camera, and I've tried to take a composite shot, and they never turn out half as well as Trevor's does, and yet his was only with 3 images, which really shows you the amount of detail that goes into his lighting and how much thought went into this photo that he created. But again, like Callum said, if you want to see the photo, if you're intrigued about it, check out our website. Head over to beginnerphotographypodcast.com. Check out the show notes for this episode with Trevor, and it'll be right there close to the top. It's just fantastic. We talk a lot to Trevor about this photo in particular. So, we try to cater to you if you're just listening to your headphones, or with your headphones rather. But I think that you'll get a much better understanding of the conversation once you actually see this photo. So once again, we're going to try to post it on our Instagram as well. And of course, give Trevor some credit so that you can check him out. So why don't you say, Callum, we go ahead and get into this interview with Trevor Hooper?
I think so. It's time.
All right, so today we have Trevor Hooper, who's a photographer from California, who we are excited to talk about. I know that Callum and I have a lot of questions for Trevor, so why don't we go ahead and get on into it, huh?
That sounds good to me.
Awesome. Well, Trevor, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about, give us a little introduction on how you got into photography and where you are now.
Yeah. I'm Trevor. I've been doing photography. Well, I mean, it's kind of in a family that had a camera, like 99% of U.S. citizens. So I've been around photography. My dad used to be into it while I was growing up, and I kind of carried that over. There would be footage of me constantly asking my dad, like, "Hey, can I have the camera now? Can I have the camera?" When I was a little kid, and I think that passion just carried over. And as I got into the later years of high school and deciding what direction I wanted to go. I didn't end up choosing photography or even film for my education. I kind of wish I did at this point, but I did choose a visual field, graphic communication, and ended up getting a minor in photography along with that.
Very cool.
So, yeah, that and those classes to me were the most fun classes I ever had. Between working in a dark room with film, to working in the studio and developing ideas with people, and it's a good segue into the photo that that grabbed you guys' attention, that composite image of that beer bottle. There's kind of a side to photography that's very technical, and I know you guys, along with me, kind of want to not focus on the technicalities a whole lot, but I think it's part of the story in the sense that along with studio photography and product photography, there's an element of a journey almost and discovery on how do you light the subject and problem solving, like it's not working like I want it to.
Cool.
And trying to figure out that process, and it's fun doing it by myself, but I love doing like when I can work with people on a project like that too.
Cool. So it sounds like a lot of your passion into the film and photography world is about problem solving, lighting, and kind of compositions. Is that the thing that you think you focus on the most in your kind of in what you do day to day?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a big part of why I got into it. I think another reason and something that's kept me in the field is how to describe it. It's those moments in photography and videography or filmmaking that you can't really put words to. That's what kind of keeps me going. Just seeing people's images and like coming across images where like, when you see it, it touches you in a way that words can't.
That's important.
It is, yeah, and that's kind of what keeps me going. I love the technical side of things, and I love making just an average beer bottle in a junky-looking garage look epic. But those images that, like, especially old, like street photography in Paris, it's kind of what I've been getting into in the past like couple weeks.
It's been your muse lately.
It has,
Cool.
yeah. I mean, I don't do that type of photography, but like just looking at those images, and they didn't use any special lighting for the most part. They didn't set up a model or anything. They just captured what they saw on the street in a way that you see it and it touches you. And sometimes it's like you have an emotional experience you can't put a word to even. It's like I feel happy, I feel sad. It's kind of a blend of a lot of emotions when you see it.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. So
Yeah.
what would you classify yourself as if you had to right now? Would it be a product photographer, or would it be a landscape photographer? Would it be a wedding photographer?
Yeah.
What would you call yourself?
That's a complicated question for me right now because I'm a little bit in limbo. Most of my money actually comes from my videography. I do, and most of that is weddings. Here on the central coast of California, it's a hot spot to get married. So
All the vineyards and the wonderful beach backdrops, huh?
yeah, and the old barns and stuff because it's kind
yeah.
of agricultural out here, and yeah, all of that. So that's where I make a lot of my money.
Well, then how did you get?
How did you fall into that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it was easier to fall into it than to stay away from it. I know I tried staying away from it, but honestly, it was my buddy was getting married, and he's like, "Hey, I know you're into photography and film. Like, we need someone to film our wedding." And I'm like, okay, I did, and I went above and beyond what he was expecting, and he passed my name on to the next client, it's a friend of his, and I filmed that one, and then my buddy who's studying film also got a couple jobs, and then we just kind of let it go from there, and
I like
built enough of a portfolio to be able to advertise online, and that's kind of what happened.
You know what's
So,
cool about this whole, what I've just kind of heard in this last 5 minutes is that I think you're very confident in the fact that I think you know you're an artist, and you want to explore that emotional range in photography and videography, and you kind of said, like, are you a photographer, are you a videographer, what are you? And you kind of just said, I'm in this limbo state.
yeah.
I really like that you can admit to being like in a limbo state of you're exploring like some ground hardened passion, whether you know the mediums are similar, but they are very different, and I think that's very cool that you're exploring both in kind of the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that because it is. I feel there are a lot of videographers here that are in a similar boat. They don't know exactly where to go from here, and you kind of have to be both a photographer and a videographer to make it work.
Is that what
in
your
this
plan
town.
is, to stay in videography, or do you plan on pursuing photography more? Is there one direction where you look forward to going, or you're just looking
Yeah,
forward to wherever the road takes you?
I mean, in the past year, I've been studying and like watching like YouTube videos upon YouTube videos and like articles about cinematography and filmmaking and writing and what drives a compelling story and what camera movements, give across a message that you can tell with camera movements and lighting that um, you can do away with words, I guess. Um, so that's kind of where I've been headed. And then in the past couple weeks, it oscillates. I go back to like, oh, I wanted to be a photographer again, or focus on that. So it's both. I mean, I think if that question, like, where are you going to be in 10 years from now? I hate that question because it's a good one and it's a challenge.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of us didn't exactly know where we were going to be 10 years from now, but now that
Yeah.
we've put in time, either we've figured out where it is that we've wanted to go and we've
Sure.
pursued that, or, I think that in your case, it's like you have found a love for two things and you
Hmm.
don't. I don't think that you have to pick one or the other. I think that
Sure.
you can, pursue a very rewarding career by doing both. It's
Hmm.
just figuring it out, how you're going to do
Yeah.
it or how you're going to blend it. I still think that with the onslaught of digital media,
Hmm.
it's in its infancy, and there's still so much that can happen that, we can't even fathom right now because we've never seen anything like this. Callum and I go back and forth. I
Don't
love
you
the
dare!
idea
Don't
of.
do this. Don't pull out this goddamn 360 camera argument.
I love the idea of the 360 camera. I think that it's awesome. I mean, if the story is good and if you place the camera in the right position, then it becomes an immersive experience. But that's something that never would have been thought of
Hey,
5 years ago.
now you have
So.
like Google Cardboard coming out.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, absolutely. I think that the future, is bringing so much technology quick that it's hard to imagine, especially now, that
Hmm.
question: where are you going to be in 10 years? Because nobody
Yeah.
can honestly answer that.
Yeah. It's
I
true.
might not be a photographer in 10 years. I might, be like, whoa, what am I doing? Like, video is where I want to be, or who knows? Maybe I decide that
Hmm.
commercial is best for me because some sort of new technology came in. It's
Hmm.
impossible to tell. So I think that there is a lot of room for growth. But I kind of want to go back to where you started. You said that a
Sure.
lot of the stuff is that you've learned is self-taught.
Hmm.
You definitely mentioned YouTube, but you also mentioned, obviously you went to school for it and you got a minor. So where
Hmm.
where would you say is the best allocation of time if you're starting out? Should it be going, the formal education route, going to college, or should somebody just say, screw it, YouTube's got it all?
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person, honestly, and their situation. Um, I gained a lot from school, and I think the biggest thing that I got out of school was a professor telling me not only information, but what projects I need to do, and then making me accountable to those projects. And then the second thing is working with peers in the same boat.
Yeah.
So working with somebody that we have to do it, we're on a time crunch, and we're in the same boat figuring it out together. And you just don't get that a whole lot outside of school. Maybe there are different forms of school, but I think that's the biggest thing missing from like YouTube or like lynda.com or something like that.
Right.
But if you're a self-starter and you love working on your own and that's what you want to do, and then by all means, I think there's plenty of information out there to get you going, as long as you can hold yourself accountable to figuring out this project you want to do. I think, so I think it really depends on the person.
I think one might even say that there's too much information on the internet.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes I spend my mornings, because I don't have a set schedule, I just spend like an hour just sitting in bed watching YouTube videos about tutorials and stuff, and then I like get up and like, God, what have I done with my morning?
So how do you go through that? Because obviously, you know, you're in a wide range of photography, videography, commercial work as well. Where do you get your inspiration? Like, do you say, I have no idea how to composite an image together, let me YouTube this? Or are you just finding these tutorials organically?
So in the instance of that photo that you're referencing, I just kind of went for it. One evening, I probably spent about 4 hours on that image from start to finish, and that was basically a conglomeration of information I've learned in the past and absorbed, and then I recently saw a tutorial from, I think it was Flern.
Great resource.
Nice, right there.
Yeah, and so I was like, I just bought this transmitter for my flash. Like, I need to photograph something. And so, and so I'm like, what can I photograph? And I look, and oh, beer bottle. Like, they give a lesson on how to make it, make a beer bottle look cool. And so I didn't copy it exactly, but I just kind of used that as inspiration to go with it. And yeah, I ended up using a in that moment I used a dirty clothes hamper. It's a blue plastic hamper with slots in it, and I put the flash in there and I shot through it, the light through that. And that's what kind of gives it a blue edge on one side, and then reflected it on the other side with kind of a warmer edge. And then that's what created like the slots lighting on the wood.
Yeah, I see that. I don't know if I would have noticed that if you didn't bring that up. It's really cool. When I first saw it, it reminded me of like an old, barn that's all broken down, and there's like holes in the ceiling, where you get that beautiful like light ray come in.
Right.
Did you add any sort of atmosphere to this photo because there's like a fog effect in the background?
Yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't typically admit that because I'm like, it's like I just want you to enjoy the image, but I feel like this podcast lends itself to the description of that. But yeah, what I did is I just I used the pen tool, cropped out the beer bottle, and I copied and pasted it in a separate layer, and then between the background and the beer bottle, I put the smoke layer and stretched out the smoke, put a blue tint on it, and kind of changed the opacity.
Oh, so that's all artificial.
So that's all Photoshop. Mm-hmm.
Whoa!
He had like 4 guys back there smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean they were smoking still. I just didn't use their smoke.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, it looks really cool. So I'm glad to hear that. On top of just photographing this beautiful bottle, lighting it, I mean, fantastically, as well as adding a beautiful background element of, I'm guessing, string lights.
Mm-hmm.
You went like a step further and added atmosphere in Photoshop. And I think that that's cool because it's not like, you saw the image in your head, you're like, this is what I want it to look like, but then you brought it into Photoshop and still thought, you know what, this is a great image, but it can be better. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really important because I feel a lot of people who go out and take the photo think, this is the photo, this is how it turned out. Now I can adjust temperature and, exposure and whatnot. But, adding an entirely different element, like a physical, tangible element of, atmosphere is a really great touch. And I think that it really brings your eye into that bottle. So,
Yeah.
bravo! I think that you did a great job with this photo.
Thank you. Yeah, and I typically don't like heavy effects in images. For some people, they pull it off great. For me, like I don't like to add anything that wouldn't exist in the real world.
Right.
And even to that point, I like subtlety too. So like at first I had the smoke like really apparent and like yeah it's there. But I had to pull it back and then quite a bit, and then actually I did bring it back into the image a little bit more afterwards. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to do with that smoke was basically push the bottle off of the background, and the lights were calling a lot of attention to themselves, and I wanted to kind of separate the bottle. And I think philosophically with that in images, I think to me there needs to be a hero of the image, and I think there needs to be a subject that your eye goes to, and I try to make that happen in my video work too, as best as possible, because when you don't know what to look at, then
it's not compelling.
It's not compelling. 90% of the time, yeah. Yeah.
I think this is important that you mention this, and I think Ray will agree. Is what I really, and we, if you're only listening and not watching this on YouTube with us today, we're talking about this beer bottle image, and we're gonna share and link this from Trevor's Instagram once we actually put the blog post up. But it's a photo of a beer bottle, as you've quite heard. With it's just gorgeous. Like I can't even describe it. You're just gonna have to go and click the link when we put it up. But he mentions all this kind of, he mentions a hero, some sort of subject, and something compelling, and he does touch on like you don't want to attach a lot of things that wouldn't happen naturally or in reality. And I think what I really want to ask is, like, this is on your Instagram, and it's kind of like the standout. It's the only thing I think I see that's not like in the real world. Like it looks like you've obviously set it up and taken the photograph, but you have like awesome pictures of deer. There's a deer here, and I see, awesome, like, I don't know what this space is. It looks like maybe a huge mailroom or something. Like what compels you to share these photographs of the world, or what is it in your travels with your camera that, what makes you decide these specific images? Like what compels you to share those images?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a two-step question for me, because there's the capturing of the image, and then there's the selection of the images. Because I take, I only share probably like 10 or 15% of what I actually photograph when I'm
absolutely can't share everything. Can't share.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't periscope all day long, but
but you should. If you're in all these really cool places, you should probably just up your data plan to $1,000 a day, and then cap your data.
I might be on board. Yeah. I don't think I'm funny enough for that. I'll do it with my roommates. Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. I'd have to look at some of them. I think when I feel inspired to take a picture, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, this would be a good image to share, or a good image just to have. What usually catches my eyes is some type of lighting situation that's gorgeous, or some type of symmetry, or leading lines that have caught my attention. And sometimes that comes just like, it just hits me, like something about the space is like, wow, this is gorgeous, and immediately catches my attention. Sometimes I have to be looking to find it. I have to look for a corner of a room, or I have to look for this small little like window or something that is interesting. But yeah, I don't know if I could really put direct words onto a lot of the photos. I think it's just something like, I know this is pretty, and I know there's a good like subject, like I said, there's a good like point of focus in the image that's pleasing to the eye. So to be very general about it, it's kind of
no, that's cool. That's
yeah.
I just had to ask because I went through the feed.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, like sometimes I look at my own feed and I'm like, like 4% not even as good in this whole Instagram feed from the last year. Raymond will be like 3%, Cal, get real. But even then, I look at yours and I'm like, damn, this image is killer. this one's killer, and then I'm literally just going one by one, and I have to stare at every photograph.
Hmm.
And I think that really speaks to your, your eye as a photographer, a videographer, an artist. When I go from one photograph to the next, and I'm just like killing it, killing it, killing it, killing it. Awesome, awesome. And none of them are the same. It's not like you're just like shooting pretty mountains all the time.
Yeah.
You've got like the mailbox room, and then you've got like, I don't even know what else is here. There's a coffee cup, which is super cool. A seagull doing some crazy stuff. A bridge, is that San Francisco? Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's the Golden Gate. I'm pretty sure.
Like, I can just scroll forever, and I'm amazed. And I think that really speaks to it. So I think it's really saying, you say, sometimes you just stumble upon something awesome, and you feel compelled to capture it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you really go out and search for it, for that perfect photograph with the composition or the light or whatever.
Well, I'll add to my answer, actually. So I feel like philosophically and kind of like at a heart level, there are two reasons on top of what I said that I might share. And one of them might be selfish, actually. It's like I think people are gonna like look at me better, if I share this photo. Like, wow, what a great photographer. That's the selfish side of things.
That sounds selfish. That's just called marketing.
And marketing, yeah, same thing. And then the other reason, I think, like when if the most altruistic version of that is, I just want to share with people that follow my images what like a beautiful world we live in, and you can see that like in Yosemite pictures with like the deer.
I don't think anybody's ever taken a bad picture in Yosemite. So
I know, right?
I'm going to be there for my honeymoon. I challenge you both. A bad Yosemite picture.
We'll see. It's going to be like some terrible like shoe picture looking down, and we're going to see like, wait, that's like a crazy emerald that hasn't been seen in 1,000 years.
I'm going to try, and I'm going to tag both of you in it, and you're going to be blown away, I'm sure, by my shoelaces.
Yeah. It'll be artistic for another reason.
Yeah.
The ugly side of Yosemite. And then something like the mailroom, or other images, it's like so many people just pass that by and like get in and out of that place as quickly as possible. But I think there's a beauty in just the symmetry of it, the lines that like pull you in, and then that person. I don't know if I had a person in that image or not. I think I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But just like having this, I don't know. There was something to that image for me that there's like almost like a journey of discovery. It's like what's in the mailbox, So that's kind of what I look for. It's like, is this inspiring to one degree or another? And like, does this show the beauty of this world we live in, either small or big? So
I like it. I think that was a great answer for sure. It's it's something that we should all kind of strive for as photographers, to always be on the lookout for what is next, what it is that we find beautiful. Because if we show off what we think is beautiful and other people like it, they're most likely going to be people who enjoy our work, and we will mesh together well with if we end up working together. But a lot of the photos that I've seen are in somewhat intimate situations, like a mailroom or a coffee shop or something. So for a minute, I kind of want to switch gears, and no pun intended, I guess, but talk about gear. Do you carry?
Nice. Good transition.
Do you carry? Do you have like a street kit? Do you have like a big, DSLR? Why don't you go ahead and walk me through everything that you love?
Yeah. So
you can also hate things. That's okay too.
Yeah. You can hate things, but we don't tolerate hate. So
yeah. So be happy.
So this is my street kit, this lens, and then I just use this viewfinder. No big deal. Just pretty. Just kidding. I don't use
that.
Wow.
I was like,
just run down it.
I just like to make a profile,
Don't want anyone to know I'm taking pictures.
Right. Yeah. I'm just watching Netflix, on a TV. No, that's actually my roommate's gear. There's 3 videographers in this house. It's great.
Awesome.
But I think most of my photos on Instagram, since that's kind of the resource you're looking at, most of those are actually from my iPhone.
Cool.
It's just in my pocket, and something that's good with the iPhone is it takes a great image if you have the lighting right.
Yes.
And that's kind of been a good challenge for me, is to not like take any image that I want and then try to fix it in post. So yeah, it really forces me to look for that good lighting and good composition and stuff. Other than that, I think I've tried to do street photography maybe twice with a real camera. And
then you just get noticed, and it's awkward, and
it
people are
is.
like, "What is that guy doing? Let's kick him out of here."
I actually got a really gorgeous photo of this drunk guy at a bar one time. It was like a back patio. I was walking by, and he's like, "Oh, is that a film camera?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, take a picture of me." I'm like, "Okay." And so he like goes and like he's like super awkward, just like, what do I do? Where do I stand? I'm like, just stand in the doorway and just like smoke your cigarette. This is you. Like, you're not
you were
a model.
trying to get it natural, but he was like, trying to pose for you.
He was trying to like do something extra. I'm like, just be yourself. He's like, okay, and so he like started taking a smoke, and I snapped a photo, and it actually turned out really nice. It was pretty dark, but I was using an 800 ISO black and white film stock, and ended up looking like probably not great for standards back then, but it kind of has this like, I don't know, retro feel to it with
aesthetic
all the
to
green.
it, right?
Yeah, so that was fun. But that's basically the most success I've had with like an actual SLR on the street. Other than that, I mean, I have a couple. I mean, when I travel, like Scotland, Yosemite, Vancouver, I took a Mark II with me, and I think 99% of the time it was just one of those nifty 50s, a 1.8 50 mil on there. So I like to stay pretty slim with gear.
Well, if you wanted to stay true to that, you would just go ahead and switch to Fuji, like
Don't.
the rest of me.
Just stop, Ray. Nobody wants to follow you.
I should just switch to the 360 camera.
Yes.
And then I get all angles at the same time.
Now we're making serious progress, people. Like, this is great. This is exactly what I wanted.
I quit the podcast 13 episodes in. Raymond talked the guy into dropping Canon to Fuji, and then Fuji to its 360 camera in 5 seconds.
I'm just going to go ahead and change the website name to 360camerapodcast.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's funny. So, okay, so you just mainly stick with just your Canon kit, Mark II, and a nifty 50. Is that also what you shoot video on?
No, I shoot video. So when I shoot weddings or any commercial work, I had used a Mark III in the past with some L series lenses, and I've actually used the hacked version of it with Magic Lantern to shoot raw video, which looks very nice.
Yeah.
A huge load on like the memory, and you got to process it a couple times to be able to use it. But I ended up getting a C100 for video work.
Okay, so a dedicated video camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was talking to my buddy, and he's like, I was gonna buy a camera, and he's like, okay, well, what do you want? Do you want a good photo camera, or do you want a good video camera? And like, I was about to answer him like, I want both, and he's like, and we both know you can't have both. Dang it. I'm like, you're right. So yeah, I picked the C100, and it's been good. It's a good one so far. So yeah, I have the Mark II, and then if I do any serious photo work, then I'll rent a Mark III most of the time.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. So I mean, now that we're talking about, dropping to Fuji, 360 cameras of the future, for you, Trevor, what does the future actually have? What does that future have in store for you? What do you want to do, or what are you planning to do?
Yeah. Back to these questions again, huh?
Yeah, where are you gonna be in 10 years? What does the future hold?
What do you even see yourself? It doesn't even have to be hard 10 years.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest question in life for me right now. A couple of years ago, I was always asked that question in school, and I finally decided I'm just gonna come up with an answer and see where it takes me. And my answer was to become a director of photography for movies,
Nice.
whether it be in Hollywood or more preferably with independent filmmaking companies, but mainly for movies. But as far as how do I get there and what path do I take, that's kind of the unknown. Sorry about that. But I know, like Kubrick, for instance, he started off as a photojournalist, taking pictures for a while, and then made his way into filmmaking. And
Same with Roger Deakins.
Yeah.
And Deakins, yeah, he did documentary work as well. So I'm not afraid to go down these different avenues, become a product photographer for a while, or photojournalist, documentarist, commercial work. Even weddings is kind of like an elite, pretty short form version of a documentary.
Totally.
But it's definitely feeding into how quick I can work, how quickly I can read a scene, how I can tell a story when there isn't a script. So yeah. As far as time between now and becoming a cinematographer, it's pretty unclear, but it's kind of my end goal for
I
now.
like it. Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, Trevor, I really liked your story, and I really liked your approach to photography and just kind of seeing the world around you. Being able to tell a story and just let people know that, we may live in this world where we're force-fed like news of just like death and destruction and Donald Trump, and yet you're here to show us like, look, it's not all bad. Look at this like gorgeous photo, or what it is that you can do all around you. So again, congratulations on just
Thank
like
you.
your amazing work. And I know that just looking at just looking solely at your Instagram, let alone your website and the photos that you sent us, I think that you have a very bright future in whatever visual field that you decide to go in, and I'm excited to watch you and see what path you decide to take, or if the path leads you where. I guess that's an existential question,
Right,
but regardless, I mean, like I said, thank you again so much for coming on the podcast. You answered a ton of questions, and I hope that anybody who's listening who is feeling the same as you, like, I don't know what it is that I want to do, I hope that you kind of put them at ease to let them know it's okay if you don't know what it is that you want to do. It's okay if, you take the gig being a product photographer. It's okay if you shoot the occasional wedding. It's okay, if you just shoot some family photos. What matters is that you're going to continue to shoot. You're going to continue to use what you love to build on to what it is that you want to do for the rest of your life.
Definitely.
And I really appreciate you coming on here. But
Yeah.
I think that we had a fantastic episode. You answered a ton of our questions, and again, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. I really appreciate what you reaching out, and this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're super impressed from start to finish. I mean, just your enthusiasm to take new avenues and explore, and you even said yourself in the last question, you don't know where you're going, but it's all going to help you lead to some sort of ultimate goal that you have. So we wish you like best of luck. I'm expecting in like 10 years to be watching a movie in the theater, and your name
a 360 movie theater.
360, God, too. And your name be on the DOP. Just be like, yep, there he is.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I hope so too.
Again, Trevor, congratulations, and thank you again, man.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
That was such an amazing interview with Trevor. This has been episode 13 of the Beginner Photography Podcast. Like Trevor said, you can find him at trevorhooperfilms.com or at Trevor Hooper on Instagram. I think my biggest takeaway here, Raymond, for this episode that I've really, really enjoyed is that you should be excited by the unknown sometimes. You should be excited to explore, and just go into different areas that you just didn't think you were going to do. Not every day, but sometimes just explore, because that will make you a better photographer. You'll be more well-rounded, and you get to just experience just awesome things all the time. What about you? Like, what was your big takeaway?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head right there. That's absolutely right. The more experience that you have, the better you're going to be. I can't tell you how many times I've used my experience working at a beach resort in my photography career. It doesn't make any sense, but it's those life experiences that, really move you forward and give you the experience and the tools necessary to achieve what maybe you didn't think was achievable before. So I think you're right there. Real quick, I just want to thank Trevor again so much for, coming on the podcast and sharing what he shared, because I think my biggest takeaway here was that I loved Trevor's honesty, that he said, I don't know. I think that it's super important to be self-aware, and if you don't know what it is that you want to do, don't try to claim that you are something just to have the title of it. Trevor really enjoys creating visuals, and that is what would we call him? A visualist?
He's a visual artist, man.
Visual artist. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah, he is a visual.
Don't worry about the words.
I are bad with words. He is a visual artist, and I don't think that he should be cattled into a separate category, anything in particular. I think that the future is going to have huge things for Trevor. You can just see it. You can see the passion in his work, and that's
totally
what I
comes
find.
Out and I watched some of the wedding stuff, and I watched even some of his own commercial, stuff that he's been doing. And you can just see that he puts in that sweat and, hard work to really nail every single shot. And I think that's the stuff that, you do all those little things right, and that's what adds up. And he's going to get to where he wants to be.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited to see him just killing Hollywood movies in 10 years.
With his 360 camera.
Oh,
I had to say.
I'll let him have that one. I'll let him have the 360 film.
Thank you guys again for listening to this episode of the Beginner Photography Podcast.
We appreciate and depend on your support with all of these episodes. If you loved what you've been hearing and listening to the last few weeks in our podcast, we would appreciate you passing these on to friends and family, sharing them on your Facebook wall, on Instagram, on Twitter, so that they can subscribe and listen, because we just want you to take better photographs and your friends and family. And until next time, I'm Callum.
And I am Raymond.
Keep shooting.
Keep shooting.